I'm Jubal Fulks, professor of violin at the University of Northern Colorado, and I'm going to talk about the Western States excerpts today, starting with the Schumann Scherzo. This is a fast piece, and one of the things to practice before you even start with the notes is the stroke. So find the right place in the bow, find the right place on the string, meaning lower on the string or closer to the bridge, and then find out how much bow to use in this stroke. You can just practice on an open string, just to get a feel for how it's going to be when you actually add the notes. Then of course when you start, it's going to be really slow to begin with. But please try and keep in mind when you play it slowly to also do it in the correct place in the bow. That's why it's important to start with the stroke on the open string, so that you're not playing it up here where you're not actually going to be playing it in the end. Another thing to do before you even start learning the notes of this excerpt is to play diminished arpeggios in position, because that's the bulk of this particular piece. So you can just start from open G, then go up a half step, and continue that way. This is for the intonation of diminished arpeggios, which is very difficult because they don't necessarily have a root, as we say, which means that your ear doesn't really have a foundation to listen to these intervals, and it's kind of like a snake eating its own tail when it's successful. The next thing to do is to practice it in rhythms. This is very important and a crucial way to practice fast passages in any music. We start with groups of 2 notes, so long, short, and short, long. This piece happens to start on the 2nd 16th, so it's going to be a little weird, but long, short sounds like this. Short, long sounds like this. One of the most important things to keep in mind when you do this kind of practice is what happens between the notes. And if you'll notice, the bow should stay on the string, and you should go for complete silence. In between the notes. That's very important. And as you practice it, you'll start to see why. Then, after you get used to the groups of 2, then it's time to move on to groups of 4 notes. And it's the same concept, but it's a little more difficult to understand because it's twice as many notes. So what we'll do is lengthen the first note of every group of 4, then lengthen the second note, then lengthen the third. And that will sound like this. Keeping in mind that this starts on the 2nd 16th note, so it kind of complicates things. So here's the lengthening the first note of every group of 4. Here's the second note. Here's the third note. Here's the fourth note. As you can hear, maybe it's difficult to have complete silence in between these where the bow stops. But that's what you want to practice for. And there's one final way that's equally important to practice, and that's using stops before the string crossings, especially for this piece. So you can examine what you're doing to get to the next string, and the bow doesn't start flying around. one more word about the stroke in this piece. A big danger is that you try to play off the string. So my advice is to just keep it on the string, and then when you get fast enough, it should just kind of happen naturally. But as soon as you start trying to play off the string, the bow starts kind of going out of control. So just keep a normal, small détaché stroke. And even in the end, if you can't get it up to 144, fine. Play it at 120, make it clean, keep the bow on the string, and I think it'll be a successful result.